one gone beyond the third destroyer, a completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and ethical conduct, Siddhartha, more of the world, supreme guide and communication of faith, teacher of gods and divinities, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the shackle clan. I prostrate, make offerings in gratitude to the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond the third destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Siddhartha, more of the world, supreme guide of human beings and humanity, teacher of gods and divinities, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the shackle clan. I prostrate, make offerings in gratitude to the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond the third destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Siddhartha, more of the world, supreme guide of human beings and humanity, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the shackle clan. I prostrate, make offerings in grateful refuge to the most supreme amongst humans who were born on this earth, the best outstanding scribe of the said highly supreme in this world. To you who are wise men, I prostrate. The pure bodies form supremely pure, wisdom ocean loving golden mountain, faith that blazes in the three worlds, living the best, orchestra of prostrate, with supreme signs, face like spotless skin, color like gold, hue like prostrate, just free like you, the three worlds I love, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate, the saving and the great compassion, the founder having all understanding, the field of miracle qualities like a vast ocean, to you the one gone beyond I prostrate, the purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, sublime reality, the Dharma that pacifies I prostrate, those who are liberated and who also show the path of liberation, the holy field qualified with realization, worthy virtues of the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community in teaching virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the supreme one, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all three without homage, to all worthy of respect, bound with bonds of friendship to all realms, atoms, and all aspects. With supreme faith, I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. To page 15 for the Heart of Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya triple gem. Thus did I hear at one time the Bhagavan was dwelling on Vasubodha's mountain in Rashagir, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perfection. Also at that time, the bodhisattva Mahasambhava perfection of wisdom and beheld those five categories also and through the power of Buddha, the level of showing virtue, said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasambhava Avalokiteshvara. Now should the disciple demonstrate perfection profound perfection of wisdom. He said that, and the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara said this to the venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage of the Lord who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly behold those five categories also as the beginning very nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not happiness or form. Form is also not emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, opposition, vacuousness, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unseen, stainless, not without stain, not conditioned, not developed. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no objective touch and no phenomenon. There is no I element and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as the truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared, Tai Tai, Gate Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice a profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoiced. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, those surrounding in their entirety along with the world of gods, humans, asuras and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. To page 25 for the short mandala.
Sanje chono soji chono la chanjo bado dani jasum che dage jizo jive sonam benje sanje dobara jo sanje chono soji chono dani jasum che dage jizo jive sonam je dolo benje sanje dobara jo sanje chono soji chono la chanjo bado dani Dage chujin ye zanam ye dola benje zanje do Ande zenye zame dawa ne je bai ji deme shi ne de ze kundam de la cha de la Do nye nye je san de je be lan je je ze kan je de go cha na be ma de je zo la so de zo shin de len do sha Ban den ze la ma ran bo chen dage je ro ben de je ne go de je me go ne je zan Go san to je ngo do ze do zo
So the first question is there such a thing as collective karma? For example, if we collectively ignore the suffering of people in poor countries, would we collectively accumulate karma because of that? Chigile ki quality, right? Chigile yorbes. Pena nganzo perjo ki check up the dinner. Shimba lomba di kyopo midinza nganzo ngozim machebeche. Digi wala tene chigile sa tugere. Chile, collective karma. Chigile. Chikbodang. Chi dunyamdu misangma.
Chiba le tumo le.
Tumong bele.
Yore. Lela di yorwa. Tumo le se de la ta jaji jung ti tende ti yore ngana ti yore eswa ti dezen da menda yore ta bena ngana zo tango mi gerchi ki su gi nyongwa ya le de dowa.
Yeah.
Ande ne nangmi gi nimdo nyongwa ya de nangmi tumo le cha gi yorwa.
Yeah.
Ngana zo chipena Soda Island original ya Soda Island ki nyongwa ya New Zealand chi nyongwa ya
Yeah.
An lingden di nyongwa ya 한 잠블링 미치 용거야. 아니 어딘데기다. 투모에 레스야지. 요레스 이제 용거 요레스로.
Yes, there is such a thing as collective or what's called common karma. For example, there's the karma that one person accumulates, but then there's the karma collected in a family, or for example, being in the South Island, being in New Zealand, and then being in the world. So all of these are different types of karma.
다들 등원한도 된데 두비야 용거래. 투모에 레스야. 되와 상매기. 아니 되와 튀메 돈이 아니 자와직 제용디. 디다 슉 전부 시차 용거라.
Yeah, so to give an example of that, if we are all acting out of the, our action is coming from a kind of collective or a common desire, that gives that karma a strong energy.
그냥 그런저 참을로기 빼샤야고 용야기 미 빼샤야고 체디 아니 부망고 싶직다 정말 빼샤만하던 거는 칼라사야 체들와
Yeah.
그래서 베나 뉴질랜드 베나 잔데거디라 라비나
Yeah.
그래서 그래서 vegetable 야고사야 체디는 이제 부메잖아 부든데 세비나
Yeah.
근데 먼저 투무 부세벨레디 먼저 투무를 님도 연구여다 와 먼저 가르서는 미유디 집보다 자기여와 내가 거에서 내가 진이들에 디고지 열래 먼저 저 여든 저들에 된다 님도라 레고여다 가르서는 먼저 데비드 롱제여라 먼저 제도도 님도 사겨여라 안델라 덴베 디고데 님도 레 연구여라다고 디지고라 봐 야가 된 님도 연구여는 도가 된 님도 연구라라 어디 딘데간에 더 레스 사단으로 어디 배 하자 트러블이스로 things
Okay. So then we can, if we look at it like this, karma is fine and very profound and deep. To give an example with food, let's not say New Zealand, let's just say Chandrakirti. Let's say that we want to eat good veggies, and to that end, we use insecticides to kill the insects. And although just one person is doing that insecticide action, the aim of the people is all similar in that they want to eat good veggies as the result, and they all experience the result of eating the veggies. So, you can apply that collective or that common karma to whether the action is positive or negative, virtue or non-virtue.
아니 딘데도 미치기 베나 그래서 다 마잼니 와 미지게 가다니 엘레 튼두망고세 미 엘레 튼두바자 밀라라더와 베나 가란조다 단다 러시아나 유그린 마델라 라더와 가둑델러와 아니 데 푸틴 기타고 또 코레다 그가 당가시거더와 그 가다니 다 유그린 지고 말아 러시아 미망고 시기도 하더라
Yeah.
미망고 시비지 거기 타제된 지간다 같이 시기요래 먼저 전문인 코란라 강에 가서 태용 거라
Vale.
딜레데 칸데rel라는데 베나덴데도 용거랑도 베나 부토마 사야 치워 덴데게 랑보친 직세다 한다로 랑보치 소직라 세니데 부토마 치워 사야게 님도 룩겸세라다 랑보치 다디 레그 네베네 랑보치 되게 제메 부토마데 제게 저와데 질렌데 고 세용 거다 주 미치게 미망고 세기도 하고 하고서 좀데
Yeah.
어디 레데도 요르다 제가 파 투무기 파 직도야다 주요야네 되고 근데로 인기를 팅동에다 저서 가지고 스토냐 들을 따내야 고요라 되고도 들을 따내면서 레사단데 내지리스는 먼저 차시도 되고 연단 따라면서
Okay.
되고 연단 들 따내네 도다 디규딘데 지사와데 먼저 알아야 준데 리카시언도 줌쟁이도 싱그레야 돼 근데 신야 연구로 하더라 그래서 줌쟁도 와돼 야면은 디칸데 중원에서 되어시 자고래 야면은 시메라래 야면은 나랑 근데지 튕겨다 배나 푸딘도 차시나 단다디 마미 망고게마 자와 직전에 컨제 부토마로 지겨래 안 랑부지도 지세라 지지도 어딘데 세 랑부지 지 부토마 세올라 쉬고 거르거다 고스 부터 첨보를 쇼 거르거래는 그 너그라다 쇼지. 근데 새벽에 내가 되면다 그 찌개 수 먹고 세기도 하고. 어딘데 인지를 된 거더라.
So that notion of collective karma, if we look at the situation in Russia and Ukraine, so it almost seems as if under one person's order, namely, well, Putin's decision, that not only many Ukrainians die, but many Russians have died as well. And you could ask, what's the karma behind that? What's the karma there? So the way I think about it is, a lot of tiny insects, for example, ganging up and killing one big creature, like a lot of insects killing an elephant. In that sense, they took the life of that big creature, and then we can see the maturational result of one person having a tremendous amount of power over another group. Now, in this sense, oftentimes we can only examine karma from the results we see and experience. We can't see the causal collective karma happening, the cause happening, but we can use reasons to infer there's a connection there. But those things we really can't reason. Sometimes we just leave it. You have to leave it. But in these situations, I often think like that a lot of small creatures like mice or insects might have ganged up to kill an elephant, and the karma coming back is like that one being having power over a lot.
베나단당하는 COVID-19도 차샤로. 디즈 당하는 미기 튼드랑 상모 초 아니 튼드 상마야 죽셔거라. 야. 튼드 통내 지나 건서 신나지도 라완세 가수글 죽으러 있는데로. 아니 말아서 디제 상마 야 죽셔거라. 야 죽. 아니 거기랑 매비체 가시 주말하는 시 가시 칼라 말하는 시 아딘데 시루거 가실라도 포진데 잡제 세고라다 봐 진짜 내 디글레 데비디 먼저 밀미버를 레도다 간다 나는 담블리 미기 둔루 첼레게 원래 간절로 단다 등이 녀원에 델레 하가 중요로 다디 레 데비디 간절 밀트 미디도 강변나라 야주구도 가시 주말하는 시루고도 미 가시 칼라 말하시 가실라데 룰라다디 니 제란테 망고지 포지 시루고도 대 상마 디레다 투무 레그 데브레 단다도 내림도 상마 투무 레그 데브라 하더라 디리.
And when we look at the COVID-19, the way that has affected the human realm collectively, we have caused so much harm to animals that might have wanted to run wild and be free, but we've controlled a lot of animals so that they're not free and abused them. We have, for example, made it so they don't get good water sources or enough water or food, or even poisoned them in some cases. And the result is that the animals now are upset, and COVID can be one of the results of that abuse. Because we have done things like even poison, use insecticides to abuse and so forth. So that's an example of how collective karma could work.
제산다디 투무에 레세디다 하장 유에버다 세우시비지레로 투무에.
Yeah. So the fact that collective karma is a reality is clear.
다디 투무에 레세디 가르스는 러 도도지 요 말봐. 상말로 되버트니로 와가지고 말아도 되버트인지 아니 내가 집에 되고 뇨야도도 아니 투무에 레차용 거라.
Now here it's important to remember it is not like a collective karma itself is also not like a solid autonomous thing. A lot of people would have been motivated out of desire, done the action, and then they get the maturational result. If someone has a particularly difficult aspect to their life and acknowledges it must be a result of past life actions, how can they best remedy the situation? The misenang tsedi nangla misenangla kanga yena Kaldi kiawa nyema gi drebo minsa di ke lemba yana. Di nyembo kandus jog the nyembo yakshu nyembo antidote.
Really.
How do you apply antidote here?
Nyembo yakshu di gawa komyare ro. Dungi ngawe legi debu di zosons da ro. Ngare legi nyemba chebe di digdip meba chasons. Pa tangana polong meba chasons. An dungi nyowa digi lende gi yiji yawo yana dungi nyowa di la gawa komba yungu yore. Ta pe diksons ta ngara legi nyemba debu chik sesons. Ngonsu tuji ngala chungsons ta pe sasons di gana semba ma jiwa sote yore. Ta lende li yiji yawa tang lochong nyamne nye ta diksons ta ngara legi nyemba debu chik mi sons, zo sons samdang chik. Tende rangla tende samdang. Shen tende ta tonglen di chanchu ki sem, di nge dungi nyowa di doa semje shen tamche ki dungi nyowa kwanshu shos. Tende ki
Tonglen.
ane chanchu ki sem ki ngola jedang ki nyamne chiya tende yore. Ta di top chishu res ra.
Most powerful remedy is to rejoice that now the negativity has ripened upon oneself, the karma is exhausted, the non-virtue, the obscuration's gone, the debt's gone. And if you really have the faith in the conviction of behavioral cause and effect, you will rejoice in it. So those that are training their minds, they actually rejoice in it, that negative karma has now ripened and they won't have to experience anymore. But for us, what often happens is when that negative karma ripens, we go, oh dear, and we are so kind of deflated by it, kind of like I'm done. But actually, for the mind training practitioners, if the self is a reference point, you rejoice because that negative karma has ripened. Now, if others are the reference point, in other words, if others are going through tremendous suffering, then one practices tonglen, the wish to take on the suffering of others with love and kindness, great compassion. And this is the power of bodhicitta as a remedy. That's the most powerful, those two. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Gisela, there's another part of that question. So acknowledging one must have brought in on oneself and having remorse for that. Would that be a start? But what else can they do? Ale susu dungen yongbe kapla susu lengen di rache cherwa. Susu lengen di hako. Dine dikola kyopa chena kyopa regret. Di go sune yabu do it.
Kyopa che de be yawo. Ngazo susu le da nyemba chewa di debu nyongo yena di ngar tangye pesa so le de che kyopa che mige wala kyopa di kyopa che go. Tanga pesa so ngape kyopa yi nga do ja yin so go mare. Tanga pesa so ngema le ga de jim nyondu de sho so ta. 친진 din데 춘 지금에서 교바체 미기벌 교바디 개와차고로.
Yes, this notion of remorse is very good because you go, oh dear, I must have done something in the past. And if one does that reflection, then what happens is the non-virtue, by means of the remorse, actually becomes virtue. The thought should not be, oh, I'm a very bad person. Not that one, but just thinking, okay, a mistake, a fault was made, and to have remorse around it. Then the non-virtue becomes virtue. Yeah, remorse. Yeah, regret. One question more. I'll try. I understand that the purpose of life is to serve others. However, if we accept that the idea that all good things that come to us are from others, but that all negative comes from within ourselves, is this treating oneself with love and kindness? I see. When so much blame is a very heavy burden to carry. That's one part of the question. With the concept in mind to do no harm, also including do no harm to the self, oneself, is self-blame for external negativity not incredibly self-deprecating? the opposite of practicing loving kindness for all, doesn't it seem? Is there perhaps another way to view this concept to cultivate inner peace? Kisla tiwa tes rimbu yinayam tarang shugi danang lelen tamchi chiktu dadi kolar wadi. First part of the question. Shempengi lo chokta chuba di hako. Serving others, to help them. Yinayang susugi drebo tang dempe chibu yena shempengi shengi yundin somlo tang. Dua lena ngarangi nur di somlo tang rwadi. Lojongi tasu di rwadi. Yinayang di susugi mikyu gi wana tene susugi sewe gi mikyu chegi urba. Treating oneself with love and kindness. Pena susu rangi jamze gi kola. Di dang tumburbe karesana lalen tamche chikdu dana di kusa jikpo saparwa. Heavy to carry the burden. Rang dan shengi lalen te. Sangsang the concept of mind idea. Yeah, tenen the concept of the mind to do no harm. Yeah, the nursem said the shenla nurma se susu rangla nurma cheber wadi. Self harm. Sangsang tene chi gi netso nemba yana susu la self-deprecating. How do you say that? Self-blame for external negativity, not incredibly self-deprecating. Ale chi gi kien nyemba yana. Ore ngarangi lengen chena. Ti susu gi duo drabashi. Lo marbe susu gi kasa. Self-deprecating. Kurdip drabashi marbe. Susu Yeah. Di dang jamze gi doksho marbe. Tiwa di pijin bre. Sebo due. It's quite long.
수수 잠시 채워다.
Yeah, susu jamze chewa dang lalin che di. The lalin che di susu lo kurdip drabashi. Kana ma mi duksha yin drabashi. Mi oeba yin drabashi. Dini mi tunjok marbe. Lelen tamchi chikla drabashi.
제다 데르와 수수 렌렌 탐제 찍었다. 이군나 가든 쳐고 슬라빈데. 아니 교여와 강에 만들 버셔와. 다 디게디 삼로야고 담베이나. 망보지 내주 망보지 나는서 차단 란진질라드네 용어데 세우셔레로. 기승한서 말한서 수수디 이모션으로 디 카넬레도 상담이 바 범죄임.
Yeah.
안데 차단라드네 용어도 알아.
Yeah.
chigla kaatha bada, chigla dukta bada jine yungu do. Diye da ranjinzi la dine yungu yorda. Dini nyi di ngoy se da ranjinzi la dine yungu yorda. Ane ranjinzi de ya samudang de ne ranji ba jimba chaya ne da ma shen wa ong yorba. Inju ranjinzi chiya ge jumzen khala na. Ngara yagwa je yong ya che de ranji ba zingi yorda. Ngan sangma la susu. Susu yagwa yong ya che de susu shiwa yinsi ge yorda.
Yep.
이내 단다사보다 깨월을 처음에 방언도 란진지제 되어대. 어도 디지민도. 그래서 란진지 용기 디지 용기 매워디 신기요 말당데. 란진지 용기 디지 용주 파셔 동의 용어디 신기요 말다. 몽배요 그잖아. 그래서 디 몽바데 수르 몽바르서는 수수 몽바르 메시다 몽마라.
레오.
아니 레렌도 찍었다서디 고단 딘데 코그레스로 하던 거.
Yeah. So, banishing all blames to the single source, or to drive all blames into one, we touched on yesterday when we trace the source of emotion back to two primary disturbing thoughts of desirous attachment and aversion, which in turn could be traced to self-fixation or the self-cherishing thought. And we had to meditate on where those emotions came from. Desirous attachment, on the one hand, is the tendency to like someone or something, and aversion, on the other hand, is to dislike that. But we trace both of those emotions back to self-fixation, self-interest, self-cherishing. And again, if we examine self-cherishing, we can trace that back to the ignorance around the way the self exists. Really, self-cherishing comes about because you want goodness and well-being for yourself somehow. But since time without beginning, since beginningless time, we have not been able to get the well-being that the very well-being that we seek. So we're not free. So then the question comes, that lack of experiencing long-term well-being and being ignorant of it, where's that ignorance coming from? Is it coming from other, or is it coming from self? 수수일을 방법을 때는
들어와. 저는 뒤인데 렌렌 탐지 찍을 다서야 돼. 수수수수라. 메라당와다. 수수 독자서 봤다. 수수라 동에 태웠어 봤다. 근데 이게 좀 말했어.
So to drive all blames into one, in no way does it mean to self-deprecate. In no way does it mean to look down on yourself, to put oneself down, not at all.
다 렌렌 탐지 찍을 다서야 돼. 아니 상무 요구 담바이나 라니라 제와셔벌 코두고요. 랑 동해 그 자와디 라니레 중요도 다 동해를 태워라 동해 그 자와디 태고도 상당한데 아니 라니 동해를 태워고야다 동해 매워서 소토야라 상무당도도 왔디 다 슈글라 참바단 자와 깨야라 누가 전부 되고 어디로.
In fact, if you really think on it, when you're going through suffering, what comes in the mind is the wish to uproot and be separate from that suffering. So in that context, loving kindness comes towards oneself, really, as a byproduct of the reflection.
먼저 단다 편제랑 먼저 동해세라 배전 치고요 되래.
야.
동해디 간에 중요함에 대해 상당히요 말아.
So the reality for us is that we do want to be free of suffering, but we don't really do a deep enough thought. Okay, so what is the source of it? What's the origin?
맞아. 니머니메 나게 삼로 찜머지 망보지. 미신다게 기제세다 미신다게 레가시다 만디고니 중화 장장 원지 지기도. 말아봐. 릭직스스 타도고 한게 중화로 봐. 타도디 숙천불에도 타도게 왕게 용거도 와. 아니 타도디 아니 착생거 어느 용거요. 근데 용거요로. 착심해야 되는 란르제 란진지 르니 용거로. 근데야 내다마시 몽배 용거 용거도. 다디 다나래 렌렌담지 찍다서야디 내당 강에 만들고 용서 참마디 다두 상담이나 아니 미신달라 카나치야다 거와 용거래로. some Quran league marwa.
Okay.
Some tangyo marti yun.
Okay. So day by day, when we interact with others, we're constantly looking at the way others may talk, the way they may walk or work, and kind of criticizing that. And then there's one class of people that out of observing and interacting others get jealous of others, and due to the power of that jealousy, desirous attachment arises, and really that's this kind of desire, and then that's really coming back again to your self-fixation, your self-cherishing, which again is ignorance. So really driving all blames into one rather than recoursing to that. When difficulties come, one sees that in terms of the source of the suffering you're going through with the difficulty, you can't blame other. No.
세상에 수수수술라 참바당 수수수술라 재와요나 아니 수수수술라 동에서야 말아.
So therefore, if you really have affection and love for your own self, you won't create the cause to suffer.
Yeah.
Do you think that these teachings like drive the brain to one and, for example, Tonglen in particular, were kept as a secret teaching until, that they were a secret teaching?
Mm-hmm.
Because people had to have a certain stable frame of mind to begin with and a certain understanding of, for example, emptiness and what have you first. Because in our culture, like for example now people have, very unstable minds and very unstable senses of self-worth, for example, they're always putting themselves down. Because without that, you can see how these teachings might harm, could possibly.
Okay.
Get the wrong idea.
So the question was, do you think that the reason these teachings were kept secret for so long was because, for example, to banish all blames into one source of self-cherishing, and also the Tonglen, because one needs a stable mind and or understanding of emptiness first, because with an unstable mind, without a sense of a stability in mind, these could actually harm or... Is that the question? Tangbon denzo lelen tamchi chiktuda dang tonglen denzo sangwe nangshin yorwadi. Kaje mi mangbo nyamsu malem buche. Dik jimsin karyasana. The same tempo meba tang tongni hamago yana. The lojongi lalen tamchi chiktuda di nyamsu lena. Dine simchen kashik la kasa ma tubu drabashik. Not worthy, can't do it. Karyasana same tempo meba tang. Tendro dang tongni lam hamago could ken chikla nyamsulemba di kapuraba. Ti marabesa tiwadi.
Vedida diro dasa tanda tonglin tanda lojon duzo la tongni neru mayimba dida ro jumzen sto mare. Ta dida raya khasana lodop chema chila khowara tande kapdi. 인지 또 동반이라 되바요메 게게자 야마르데 단다디 찬주 그셈 검다디 동렌 치다 동렌 치야다 렌렌탄지 질러도 군을 거리 조금 세도 상마 로덥 쳔보로 봐 수수지고 마엠바네 로셈지 셴지 돈다 치투미기 로덥 연이 밀로 로자 쳔보 로자 쳔보도 지야 그냥네 레스 지단 상원 레다서 상원 상원 레로 그 태버 준비 추 전주심도 저다 로아지 타바도 동네 냠네데 상원에서 로도 쳔베도 밀로제 춘주기 수수지고 단다장 상단이디 내가 치도고 말해 명망원 내가 치도니 데라 그 로제 치정 계절에메데 동니 때마데나 도시라요 말했지.
These trainings, mind trainings, the Tonglen, the banish all blames to the single source and contemplate the great kindness of others, not really from the point of view of emptiness, would they not have been taught, but from the point of view of courage. Because it is with the bodhicitta that we are trying to practice taking and giving, the courage in terms of having a big mind that looks out for others' welfare over and above your own. Yes, in this sense, then, when you practice these teachings, you're not just thinking about yourself, but you're trying to put into practice the work for the benefit of all. Yes, in general, in the great vehicle, some of these teachings were secret. For example, the taking and giving, but it is not due to emptiness, it is due to the courage. Yeah. And also in the West, it seems that we have strong self-cherishing attitudes. Yeah. I mean, to cherish oneself is kind of almost taught in schools and also in families sometimes.
다데 루세 셴뱅 로쇼레 데 라비오디 저랑서 빼는 년데데 스스심라 누구도나 핑기요레 로 먼저 맨산에 나자딜 툭나네 맨데 나자딜 페브라라 다디 뇌제 심라 마데버지 중제 다디 가르서는 다 페제 녜 지단데 데 디게에서마 디 셰단다 녜 지단이 카가르셔와 지난다 나디 요시 당구도 삼되네 빼펜도 거라 다디 네버디 빼사서제네 당아베 조르샤 삼노다는 다디 디게요 말이다 데 뇌단들 니요레 뇌베이나 찍야고래 그래서나 수수 단다사왕의 란진지체 타도체 잘레스체 되버디 딩멘도 당아 미신라 가고 공고도 연된다고도 팬더치고도 러들래나 다시스 내단한테 배 통성 왔어요. 빼야고 봐. 너단 찍디 야그래. 나 너단 찍디 하 다디 처음에도 다디다 처음에도 처로 카다야 삼르간 레르고도나 아니 개겐데 쇼싱이면도 거의 쇼싱이면도 아니 최대래 처음에도 땅아랑게 세 나란데 따와데 따다 인스 콘제 셰단데 노고돌라나 다디 베드네브레 데릭들라 펜토고 말다 너단 니여래
Yeah. In a sense, if we're attempting to practice altruism, someone that appears to harm is tremendously beneficial for us. It's a bit like when you're sick, the medicine has to affect the sickness. So rather than anger with anger, there's two ways to look at this in terms of the harmer. When harm comes, or anger comes, one could look at it and think, okay, is this a product of my selfish mind, self-cherishing and jealousy? And if I can not dwell on the negative side of that, but rejoice in the other person's good qualities, that's a useful approach. But the second class of person might, when the anger comes, just dismiss it, turn away, and say, oh, that's not Dharma, or that person's not teaching the right way. My view is the view. Well, that's like the second response. Yeah.
뒤에 송다 최년도 랑라 네바데비듯이 최를 맨데비듯이 아니 내대 냠슬로 네 유령 뭐데 땡고라 최셔 볼 멤버데비듯이 녀고라 그래서 나즈들 녀고도나 아니 스즈디 유거단 삼로질레나 따따 배야고 총요.
It is said that, with regards to the way one listens to Dharma teachings, one should have the discrimination that oneself is the patient and the Dharma is the teaching that you're listening to, the advice. And then...
Me.
Did I say? Oh, sorry, the Dharma is the medicine. Did I say Dharma? Yeah, I did. No, I didn't. Oh, the Dharma is the medicine. Sorry, I got that wrong. And then the teacher is like the doctor. So then, if that can affect your sickness, then that's good.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes, there's one more question. A couple of people wanted to know briefly about the Wheel of Life. Oh, the picture. Sipikologi, Tankadi, Dikola, Robson Jobisik, Tina Digray, young man, Yoma. Okay, we can say something about the Wheel of Life at the back of the Gompa.
나 시버콜로디 데르와가서 중림로디 파메 틸린서야 된 총래 몽게 부네 수수 아마 가통 하모고네 네 점블링디기 네를 체가도네 많이라
야
몽게 부 좀된데게 예용로 몽게 부서 주두쇼 주두에다데 신의 톱 아니 되네 주두투데네 베사자 가지고 필니도 두고야다로
야
몽게 부다 친 저와 점블링디기 미 튼도 냐와 이다 참모도네 그러나 아마도 니여 말이잖아 많이 되네 좀 된데를 쉬는다 내가 아마 가와래 겨울랑 이런 치는 이거만 들어도 네 점블링 신다지기 냐와를 기여를 점블링 망보여로 낭배 쉬는에는 점블링 저탁자 점블링 디나시 망보 쉬 유대와 챌린지여로 점블링 신다지기 저는 다좀배 식투고요 말아
알레
몽게부 다좀으로 민도 다좀으로 좀 되는데 저랑 아마 데도스 창조에서 지금 감달라 도스 되는 녀월 계셔서 대치디다 저랑 추였던데 지나 아무를 핑그레스 도스 뭔가 보게 미신다들도 좀 다양한 녀월을 도이 동해든데도 이다도 동해든데도 튼돌내도 동해 할아도 동해든데도 강해든데도 다 미다 동해 세움당으로 통도라 어디 좀데 셰네 미망고 쉬어질 셈나는 이중계로
Ale mongipu kurang labir ba.
뭔가 부 미신달라 셰
Ale
룸디
hako
셰
hako.
룸디 셰드는 컨트롤 니중견
Wow.
미망고 니중견 좀 되는데 마음바 너무 튀제네 누가게 검정을 태고 그래서 근데 또 중단되던데
Okay, so first we talk about the source of the wheel of life, Mongipu, who was the arhat in the retinue of Buddha. His mother passed away, and he wanted to search for her rebirth after death. The Mongipu had cultivated single-pointed concentration shamatha to the extent that he could miraculously go wherever he wanted in the world. So he set out in this world to find, to find his mother, but he couldn't find his mother in this world system. So he asked Shakyamuni Buddha, "Where was my mother reborn?" To which Buddha replied, "Your mother was reborn in another world system in hells." Now, in context of Buddha Dharma, this universe we are in is not the only one. There are countless universes, millions of them in fact. But although Mangipu was an arhat, he didn't have the capacity to see where his mother was reborn in this other world system in hell. So then Lord Buddha said to him, you create Dharma, you create merits by teaching the people, telling the people what it's like in each of the realms. What's the suffering like in each of the realms? So he would have to go through all of the levels of the different realms that beings are in, like the hells, hungry ghosts, animals. Human suffering we know, right? We can see it. But then just upon teaching that Dharma that Mangipu taught, a lot of people got renunciation, meaning the wish to be free from the cycle. And then I think Shakyamuni Buddha said in the future, make that teaching into a diagram, into like a ra. Then in that wheel of life is the result.
낭백이 소리백이 리무 당보 어디 시거 리무 당보 당거든데
All right. So the Surikpe, the cosmology of Buddhism, that's the first picture coming out of Buddhist cosmology.
다디 기딜라 파과체 차체 디 두도가
Yeah.
뒤에 숨게네 되자시나 디무숨 청거라.
Right. So in the middle you see pig, rooster, and snake, which represent ignorance, desire, and hatred, respectively.
차디기 시단체 파과디 디무치 두디 시단로.
Yeah.
아니
Draw some here.
어디.
Yeah. So once more, the snake is hatred, the rooster is desirous attachment, and the pig is ignorance.
다데 제가 너무 최근이데 비조데 나고 수조데 가오래도 하디 레가나니데 레 미게워체 아니 디게 파르도 땡겨와 냐와이다 튠루게 파르도데 낙부 틀도 와나시 레다 레게뭐 제스도 아니 지 꾸노 지 겐바지 코니 되자시다 디무데 지 꾸네란지 레 사조든도 네 되자시다 디무 꾸네란지 레도 망보직다 망보직 Right. So the fact that the picture or drawing is divided into black and white is commensurate of the non-virtuous actions on the black side and the virtuous actions on the white side. So when one is motivated to act in a non-virtuous way, for example, with either of the three disturbing thoughts of desirous attachment, aversion, or ignorance, the karmic maturational result is the black side of the lower realms, for example, the lower migration. No. But conversely, on the white side, if one's motivated to be generous, to help other, to cultivate wisdom, then on that side, the upper rebirths of humans is the result, and gods. 다디 타들라 니 차투고도 냐와 이다 튼도 미하 일 하마 일 하스 이제 어두스 이제 차투 거도 아디나는
Yeah. So then on the circumference, on the outer side, you'll see the different realms going from like the lower realms around in a circle. So you have hells, hungry ghosts, animals, humans, gods, demigods.
다디 네 레다 뉴몬나 되네 중에 로리르고 셈질래 끼로고요. 가려운 끼고래서도 다 데이터라 기승한도 된데나 중이데 좀 중이 뒤도와대.
Yeah.
어디 된데나 중이데 왕게 아니 거래 잡제다 상상은 녀와제 상상 밀리제 상상 할제 상상 하마일제제 아니 거래 잡제다 시베 콜로날 거제 되기요래서 왔다.
So the fact that there are those 6 groups of sentient beings is a product of karma and disturbing emotions. And yesterday we began to look at these 12 links, which is a cycle of events that sets off the fact that sometimes beings migrate to hell, sometimes human, sometimes God, and then again hell and animals, and so it goes around and round.
다 데이터라야다. 먼저 치다 신지치로 돼. 카단데 예스도 치다 신지 칼라 먼저 다 레다 뉴모게 아니 거르 잡제다 치다 신지게 칼라다 타르게 요마 먼저 디나 아니 초 실라 데 간라 담데야데 아니 레다 뉴모 온게 아니 제가나치 온게 껴와 가와 나와 디 온게 다 거르 잡제 디나라 칭데 요레스 And
the fact that the outside the circle is the Lord of Death with like fangs and what have you, holding the wheel in the mouth, that's showing that we are at the behest of karma and disturbing emotions. We are not liberated from that constraint. So being in the mouth of the Lord of the Death, we are constantly undergoing birth, aging, sickness, and death.
다 비저데 다웨 간데 다웨 순이 지티도 다와데 가르스나 아니 다웨 순이 티와디 동네 타다 시비 시원양데 요레스로 좀 내되지 코와디나라 이 가디에나 코르고 말해 수수 최냠네 지토베이나 좀 내데 주구주데도 와다 수수게 아니 람냠네 지기 제비이나 아니 타발레 타르웨 코발레 타르웨 타바 시원양데 톱기 요레시베 다른에서 왔다.
But there's also outside of this circle the moon, symbolizing that one doesn't always have to cycle in an unenlightened manner. Lord Buddha points at the moon, showing that if one practices the path, one can be liberated and attain the peace of nirvana.
What the Sivakollu Toyin Kawalang Junjia sometimes. On the Chinjugan Gombal reading about Kadina or the Tingre. That the Nyawagi Nyave Remutina, Remutamanda Yorua.
Yeah.
And the Chelegana, Cheleora.
Yeah.
Chelegana tus. Number Japtin Yusura. She got up in Yusura. But the Pamala Kalochi leg debris. Nye Pawala death jovang and Butchiki is Raja the Paw Kadina. Shenalangor, the Kadina. Pama Kalejana, the Jimmy Jeligan, remember Jaguridas, Shijigra. Combal teacher, this another language.
So, when one sees the wheel of life, one is supposed to, what is good to, generate thoughts of renouncing cyclic existence. When I was young, I used to go to the doorway of the monasteries with my dad, and then you'll see in the tanka some of the hell beings that have their mouths open and their tongues out, being kind of like pressed and cut into and trampled on the ground. And my dad used to say, that's what happens to young kids who abuse their parents. So I used to think, oh, that's teaching for me, don't diss your parents.
And Mila doesn't with your Pamala Milo Javres. Tanda Dina Gala wasn't it? 아니 초하게 된대라 빠 대생이 맞아다 파말라 미글다나 아니 미글 다서 그래
Kasakisake.
미글 다서다 미글 다져다
I
미글
mean the arrows in the eye.
데 파말라 미글 제와게 내가 남메르스 파말라 미글 대그라운드
Leon.
파마 미글 다지요 말
Yeah, and then arrows through the eyes, like not looking the parents in the eye and listening to them. So looking.
아예 신나는 거다
Yeah, it's kind of like a bit scary.
팅마 당고 전제더라 그래서 줄라가나
Yeah.
그래서 디브리 빼침부티여라
Ale.
빼침 줄라간
Yeah.
냐와도 이다
빼침.
원래 이기여라
어디?
아니 게 이길러라 아니 바하게 디세자고라 게 이길러 바 디세자지 게 전다 하고라 그래서 팅마 당보도 되는가 건다다 니쿠마서 시 그마 당보대 저는 나내 송마도 카단데라 송마도 카단데 아니 바 파말라 칼로징에 파마데 조용히 뭐 지겨라 다가 뺏어가 냐올지 그래 신 그마 당보대 니 지다 쿵마정 그래
When I first went to Lhasa to visit the Jokang, the depiction of the Wheel of Life at the entrance is huge. You know, it's really in detail. And underneath is a description of all of the various stages, and I would read it, and in dependence on that, my father would explain it. And that night I didn't sleep very well. I didn't sleep very well because I saw all these kind of really heavy things that happen, you know, if you do that to the parents. So I didn't sleep. I thought, oh, I'm done for. I'm going to hell. I remember that so clearly. We'll dedicate now.
Page 31 in the Orange Book to the short Mandala.
Sangye Shindu Mete Uwaji Chokun Namda Shimla Chopa Sho Tam Guru Ratna Mandala.
Page 33, prayers of dedication. Due to the merit of these virtues.